Coming up on the Making Waves VO podcast.
Like, you're distracting them. You're making it sound longer. Our job is to make their job easier. So shut up.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves. Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
This is the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobbi Maxwell.
It is the Making Waves VO podcast presented by our good friends at Full Compass and fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
I almost forgot the whole thing, Bobbi.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Yeah, as of this recording, it is Friday, and maybe it'll be released on a Friday. But we've got such a fun episode of the Making Waves VO podcast today. So a couple of weeks ago, Bobbi sent me a note, and she just was on a tangent about something that happened in the VO world that should not have happened in the VO world, where... Anyway, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. And we're like, we need more manners in this business, Bobbi. And so you had this great idea, right?
Yeah, it's like it was going to be called the etiquette episode, but it's all about respect and manners. And we can fill up probably a couple of episodes with this, actually.
Yeah, for sure. And Bobbi was like, Kevin, who do you think would be a good guest? Who could we get on that we could call Miss Manners? And the first name that came to mind was Bev Standing. And the reason why Bev came to mind was because everything that happened with TikTok. Besides that, she's a wonderful lady. She's Canadian. She's got all the things going for her in the manner department. So we thought, let's have Bev come on the podcast, and we'll talk about manners in the VO business, Bobbi.
Yeah, so without any further ado, let's let her in the room.
Bev!
And how are ya?
I'm good. You guys
It's
are
so-
hysterical. I love this.
Yeah, it's so good to have you, Bev. And yeah, honestly, Bobbi can tell you, Bev Standing was the first name that I sent her.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my gosh, that's the perfect idea for somebody to talk about manners. So we're going to get into your TikTok story in just a second, Bev. But let's get a little bit of an introduction going. For those that don't know you, how long have you been doing voiceover?
Well, first, let me say I'm honored that I was the first name that came out of your lips, because there are so many nice people in this industry. So we'll just say thank you.
You're welcome.
Secondly, I guess I took my very first voiceover workshop in 2008. I sort of became a working VO in 2011. I started to get some work. In 2014, I was full-time.
Bev, do you remember doing a workshop in Columbus, Ohio with JMC, and I'm trying to think who else was there. You were up on stage and you were having us read for you in a contest. That's where I met you. You probably don't remember I was even there.
You know what? I don't remember you. I think I was stunned. I went to the conference the year before, specifically to meet, among others, J. Michael Collins. And I took what he said and I went home and I did everything that made sense for me from what I heard. And he asked me to come up on stage with him next year because I couldn't not book on the site. I was just booking left, right, and center. And it was him.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it was
remarkable.
2016. 2016 is when that was.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought you had been in voiceover longer than that, Bev. What did you have a career prior to voiceover?
I had many careers prior to voiceover.
What'd you do?
I've been around the block a few times, as they say. It's funny. My dad was an advertising executive, so we would sit and watch commercials. So I had an understanding of the commercial end of it as a child. Then I ended up working for CBC Radio, and I started as a receptionist, ended up typing scripts, ended up being brought into the practice, like the rehearsal rooms, editing the script. And back then it was a typewriter. So there were I had to retype the whole page if there were changes to be made. And I worked my way up to the point where I was production assistant in the booth with the director. So
Wow.
I did that. But what was weird is hindsight, the actors, because we did a show for a year in front of a live audience, and I just thought, well, they were actors. They were voice actors, but I just thought they were just voice actors. They didn't do on camera.
Oh, wow.
And it was an on-call place. You had to phone in, and they had two people off to the side on each side of the stage, phoning in being different people. It was
Wow.
hysterical. It was so fun.
Wow.
But that's where I got started. And then I didn't do anything until 2008. And I took it up as a hobby.
Fascinating.
It really is. So, okay, we've got to jump into the TikTok thing because one of the things that Kevin and I were talking about was someone taking your audio or you using somebody's audio without permission. And most people know the Bev Standing TikTok story, but hey, just lay it on us again in a nutshell. What happened to you?
Yeah, I just got interviewed by the LA Times, and I said to them, I'm never going to stop talking about it because people still don't know. So thank you for bringing that up. So I recorded a job in 2018 for a translation app for a gentleman in Scotland or Ireland, somewhere over there, Dublin, I think it was. And 3 years later, I was the text-to-speech voice of TikTok when they first introduced that as a feature on their site. I didn't even know what TikTok was, but I had done a translation app, not a transcription anything. So I took them to court. I got Rob Siglan-Paglia, and the bottom line was I said, you can't do that. You're not my client. And that was the whole premise behind the whole thing, is that I'm running a business, and you can't do that. I can be Canadian and be as nice as the next person, but you can't do that. So I politely took them to court, and they politely took me off.
Wow.
How long did it take for the lawsuit to get settled?
To get settled, probably 6-7 months.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it
I
wasn't
guess.
bad at all. From the time that I was made aware that my voice was the text-to-speech voice, which was November 21st, or November of 21, I should say, to me actually filing the papers, I think, was March. There was a lot to consider, whether I would do it or not, how to do it, what am I doing, why am I doing it, all that stuff, so...
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Walsh of The True Tell, and you're listening to the Making Waves VO podcast with my friends Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobbi Maxwell.
Well, let's get into the manners part of this. Thank you for that backstory one more time. There's several things that go on in the VO world. We've got people that don't use their manners and they taunt people by sending them vicious emails. We know that kind of stuff is going around, right? And then there are other things that people just cluelessly do. And I'm going to give a perfect example, and I'm going to start with how I had no clue that I was not using etiquette. I was not being a pro. I was being a clown, as a matter of fact. So when I first transitioned from radio into full-time voiceover, it was 2004, and I'm trying to hustle up clients and stuff. And I had a good friend that did voiceover work in a specific genre that I was trying to get more footing in. And I sent him a note and I said, hey, man, I'm doing some searches. And this is before, Google searches were really popular and, these kinds of things. There was a little more directory work involved in these kinds of things. And so I said, hey, man, would you mind sharing, some people that you work with in this area? And he's like, well... man, and I was so clueless because he was, similar voice print, everything. And he's like, man, that's just not a good idea. He goes, I've worked on these clients for a long time. And he goes, maybe reach out to so-and-so. And then he left it at that. He didn't really get on my case, but I gleaned, Kevin, don't ask him for this. He's hustled this up. And here I am, new, fresh, clueless about how this world works. And I was like, trying to get by and get over and take a shortcut. There's no shortcuts in this business, Bev.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. And you can't ask can I have your boss's name so I can take your job? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how it was going down. And I was like, Kevin, that was so dumb. But I learned from that, after all this time. What are some other things that people need to be mindful about, Bobbi, and have manners about in this business?
Well, one of my favorites is Zoom calls, whether it's a workshop or, if it's just when we did the VO Atlanta conference online the year of COVID, the things that people will do without thinking how it's affecting other people in the Zoom room. Like practicing your script while others are actually performing.
Yeah, look at Bev. She's
I know.
mouthing. We're sitting on the Zoom and she's mouthing things. It's very distracting. I already forgot what Bobbi was saying because of what Bev was doing in the background. Bev, where's those manners?
I'm sorry.
And the thing about it is, yeah, I know you want to practice. I guess turn off your camera first
Turn off your effing camera.
if you have to. But any person that's a coach or a casting person or that is, is critiquing you there is going to tell you, you're going to learn from watching other people. So the fact that you're taking away from their time is just slighting yourself,
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and also when people coach, when you are on with a coach on Zoom and people are in the chat also coaching them, drives me crazy. Maybe it's me, but have you seen that before? Where it's like, oh, and you could have done this, or, yeah, in the chat. So they're like adding on to what the coach says. There was a guy, I'm not going to name names. He just happened to be in a bunch of different webinars with me, and he would always eat or drink or talk to somebody that was like in the room with him while you were performing. And, you can see these windows up here, and it really is distracting. So just have some respect and remember that these people deserve their time.
Shut your mic off, shut your camera off, and then do
Shut
whatever
the
you
F
like.
up.
Yeah, shut the F up.
I got to tell you, I have a little secret. And I wouldn't do it in a coaching session, but I would do it if it was going to be 30 people and I had to listen and I knew I wasn't going to say anything and I had to be present. I would record, some people know this, I would record me in the background wearing the clothes that I would wear for about a minute, just sitting there, having a drink of water, nodding, kind of, the odd gentle smile. Nothing so reactive that if it was the wrong reaction, it would be noticed.
Right.
And then I record the video of that, and then I make that my backdrop, and I turn my camera off. And you can see me move, and I look like I'm still there.
Does it loop?
Yes.
Did people ever catch on?
Well, no.
They do now.
Bev, you gave it away.
Yeah, but you have to be wearing the same clothes because if they do say, Bev, what do
Sure.
you think? You turn your camera off just like I usually have a tissue, or I just turn it off and then change your background and pop back on and go, oops, sorry. Hi. Of course, I say sorry.
So is this
Sorry.
black top that you're wearing, is this your Zoom outfit, so to speak?
No, I have several. I have a blue shirt, a green shirt.
I love this.
That's a classic.
Yeah, and you nod and you look down and you look over
Yeah,
and
look
you
at
look
your
as if you're
script,
looking
take a
at
drink of
who's
water.
there. And yeah,
I
and
love
you're still
that.
in the
That's
room,
amazing.
but you can be absolutely, not dressed for success kind of thing and still be there.
Bev, you had the whole TikTok thing. We've talked about, sharing client lists and stuff like that and the Zoom etiquette. And we could go on about Zoom etiquette, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But what manners come to mind in the voiceover world that you wish people were more mindful of?
I want to say respect somebody's time. You
Yeah.
talk about conferences and stuff, and I can remember, and I so even this was last year, and I wanted to talk to somebody, and she was in a conversation with someone, and the two of them were so locked onto each other's eyes. They were having a conversation, and I stood off to the side for a moment, and I went, I'm intruding. Like, they're not going to look at me. They're not going to say, just hold on a second. Just walk away. Right? Just
Right.
don't wait in line when somebody is in depth in a conversation. Just let them have their conversation
Thank
and find them
you.
another time.
Yeah.
Can I add to that? Because it is a perfect segue into I was having a deep conversation with Mary Lynn Wisner at VO Atlanta, not this past year, but the previous year. And we were sitting down in chairs. It was just us, eye to eye, face to face. And then somebody comes up and grabs her on the shoulder. And it's like, hey, how are you? And then all of a sudden, that conversation was commandeered
Yeah.
and taken away. And so I let it go for maybe 60 seconds, still sitting there like an asshole with my thumb up my ass because I was having a deep conversation. And then somebody came up and rudely interrupted and just commandeered. And then I just re-interrupted that and tapped Mary Lynn. I said, I'll catch up with you later. And I walked away.
Yeah, Marilyn's so sweet that she probably
She is.
wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Right?
She's like, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. And then the person that did it was like, oh, I am so sorry. Meh, 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 meh. I'm like, it's all good. I'll catch up with her later. And I just walked off. I was just so ill. I was mad.
I wonder if
Yeah.
it's the same person that did it to me and Mary Lynn that same year.
I don't know, but I heard from somebody else that the person that did this, that is out of their character. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff. And I've heard of somebody else that's really big at our business. And just if you want to know how big he is in our business, just ask him. But he did it one time to a very, to Tom Pinto. I'll just say it. And Tom, I'm going to mention names. Well, I'll mention Tom's name, but Tom was like, Kevin, that guy. I'm not going to say what Tom said, but Tom doesn't get mad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
And you also have to remember when you go into like the X sessions at VO Atlanta that there are 12 people who really want to read and ask questions, and you only have so much time. So if you're that one person that it's me, and oh, I have another question. Oh, I have another question. Just look at the room. We're all there. We all paid the same amount. We all, we want to learn and just respect others' time.
And write your question down and follow it up with an email to that person going, I didn't want to hog the room. I just had a
Good
couple
point.
of other questions. If you have a minute, could I ask them here?
see, that's why she's on. She is Miss Manners of the VO world. That is perfect etiquette right there. Maybe ask your one question, let it go, and then if you have follow-ups, just remind them of the question, then say, hey, added to that, could you answer this? So
Yep.
I didn't even think when you chose her that, yes, she is Canadian and they have that. It's like
That nice thing. I know. I had to call. I just did a TikTok on this of all things. I just got my renewal for QuickBooks, and it was twice what it was last year. So I phoned them and asked them to explain why, and then ended up apologizing for having to bother them for this. When I hung up, I went, seriously? I really do that. So there you go.
oh my gosh.
you don't want to miss what's next. Making Waves returns momentarily.
This is the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobbi Maxwell. I, on the other hand, am Eric Romanowski of Ear Blowing Audio, and I don't know the first thing about podcasts other than that you should keep listening to this one.
As a voice actor, you want to focus on what's important, right? Like pulling off the perfect read. You don't want to stress about tech stuff. That's why Full Compass is in your corner. With 50 years experience in pro audio, Full Compass has everything we voice actors need. Mics, headphones, monitors, mixers, interfaces, DAWs, all the goodies. And their certified product experts help with everything they sell. Plus, you can get free same-day shipping, flexible financing, and a low price guarantee. See it all at fullcompass.com. Fullcompass.com. They know VO.
And now, back to Making Waves. Let's talk about manners in a recording session. I've done some recording sessions, and my MO is these people that are directing me, they want to work. They want to get the job done. They want to get on with the rest of their day. So I will read the room, and I can talk, I can chat, I can yuck it up, I can be silly, I can be goofy, I can talk sports, I can chat with you, but my goal is to get you on the road to getting this spot done. And so I kind of lead it that way if I'm in there. But if I see that they want to play and horse around, I will. But my mindset is get the job done, maybe sprinkle in a little bit of fun, but beyond that. But then conversely, I've talked with folks where they say actors will get in the room and they're just yucking it up and talking and playing and dancing and doing all kinds of stuff and killing time and doing everything but the spot. Bev, what are your thoughts when it comes to recording sessions manners?
You're going to... I just try to be super polite. I write down, I take in little Post-it notes and I write down the person's name because I'm terrible with names. So I write down the engineer's name with a big circle and then the other people in the room. And I listen to the direction. I ask them if I have questions. And at the end, I guess the most fun I have right now is if they go perfect, I say, that's my favorite word. If there's anything else you need, I'm here. I get that. If they want to chat, they'll initiate it. I would say at the beginning, I was probably way too chatty. I'm not now. Because for exactly that, they want to talk about your read. They want to talk about what they're going to have to present to their client. They don't need it. It's like it's like you talking to Mary Lynn and someone and going, "Hi," and they're going, "Wait a minute, what? What was I just saying?" Like, you're distracting them. You're making it sound longer. Our job is to make their job easier. So shut up.
There's your hot take right there. Our job is to make their job easier, so shut up.
There you go.
Bev Standing 2025.
Yeah. What about the end of those sessions, though? How do you guys feel about when it's done and someone will say, the voice talent will say, well, maybe you should try it this way, or did you ever think of doing that? Are you good with that? Or do you think that you should just let them run the entire session?
Generally speaking, they know what they want. They have been there directing you. They have what they want. That's why they're ending the session.
Yeah.
My comment would be, if you need anything else from me, you know how to get me. Reach out to my agent, or if they've got me directly. If it's in the middle and they're going, well, yeah, no, that's good, I might say, would you mind if I did a wild take? I've got some thoughts in my head. But I don't elaborate. I say, if you want, I'll give you another read just to throw something in the mix, see if that's more along the lines of what you're looking for. So yes, but as Kevin said earlier, you got to read the room.
And I've done that before, Bev. Adding on to that, it's like, yeah, I'm happy when the sessions are done and they're like, hey, great, we got everything we need. Now, conversely, I've been in a room where the director, it's like, we've all been in those sessions where the director is like, are they a director, or are they just somebody that's editing this and they don't really know how to get something out of somebody? So I've been, I think, one or two times I've offered when they've gone like, hey, yeah, I think I like this and I think like this. And then I'm like, hey, would you mind if I tried something here? I had, and like you said, Bev, just I had something in my head. Can I try that? And they're like, yeah, great. But mostly, yeah, I'm like, no, I'm happy when the session's done. They got what they need. I'm not going to mix it up anymore. And that might lead to like, oh, then maybe they think, maybe we could go that way. Maybe let's explore that and unpack that. No. Let's get it done. Get out of here.
And I know J. Michael Collins would say the same thing. If he has some great idea, he'll do it, just like you would in audition. I can read your direction, but you know what? I have my own opinion. I have my own authentic person I can bring to this. Let me give it a try. But if you have to read the room.
Yeah. I love it when directors at the end do say, is there anything else you could think of?
That's your door.
Great.
Yeah, that's the door open for you.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Bev, and we're covering all kinds of manners in terms of voiceover and different areas of voiceover. We talked about Zoom manners. We've talked about, VO peer to VO peer manners, conference manners, all these kinds of things. Now I want to talk about representation manners. Now, I know pitching to agents, the number one mindset, and this can fall under the manner category, is be mindful of their time, first of all. And second of all, be mindful of what you can do for them. It is a collaboration, right? Of course. But first, gut instinct should be, what can I do for you? Here's how I can help you make money, because that's all they care about. Do it professional, be mindful of your manners and all these kinds of things. Bev, do you have any thoughts with dealing with manners, manners in terms of representation, either that you have already or that you're seeking?
For me, anytime, let's just say, anytime I'm speaking with an agent, I let them talk. They actually like to talk. And let them tell their story. Let them talk about their business. Let them talk about them. And if they ask you, answer. I speak with my demos. I speak with my jobs that I've done. And that would be presented up front or upon asked, or go to the website and follow direction kind of thing. But if you're just talking to an agent, even if it's the agent you have, ask them, is there anything else I can do for you? It's exactly that. The reason you're on their roster or want to be on a roster is to make them money, which makes you money. But if I was the only one making money, they wouldn't have time to talk to me because they have a job to do, right? So it comes back down to be respectful of their time. Don't be too nosy and let them talk.
Oh, and if you're wanting to get on a roster,
Follow directions.
Yeah, follow directions. And if you're looking for a reference from somebody who is on that roster already, unless you really, really know them or have worked with them or they just love your work, it's such a no-no. I mean, that you're really putting them in a corner by doing that.
How many times have you been asked by another talent and you know them, you've talked to them a number of times, but you really don't know their work style, how they are in a directed session. You haven't, you don't know them that well, and they say, "Oh, you're with them. Can I use your name?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'll say, "Hey, Kevin," or "Bobbi, I've got an agent and they're looking to add to their roster. I'd highly recommend you if you're interested." Let me be the one to say that.
Yeah,
Right?
I totally agree with
Yeah.
that. Have you guys been on social media and friend requests you, or LinkedIn if they add you or whatever, and then immediately they'll say, "Could you follow my page or like me?" Or it's like, come on, I don't even know you
Yeah,
yet.
it's an automatic delete when that happens. It's
Yes,
an unfollow and I'm in LinkedIn. I'm losing some of the people I have as connections because the algorithms don't like it if there's just other voice talent. There's other platforms to connect with talent. So
Interesting. Never thought about the algorithm.
Hey everyone, David Toback, COO of the Global Voice Acting Academy, also creator of the GVA Rate Guide and a voice actor, and you're listening to the Making Waves VO podcast.
We're talking with Bev Standing, Miss Manners. We're officially giving her the title of Miss Manners now.
that.
And Bev, I don't know if I asked you about this, but we can decide now. Would you have by chance a nightmare session story that you might be able to tell in a couple of minutes about a recording session that went horribly wrong? We all have them. We tell them almost every podcast. But no worries if you don't. Maybe yours are so perfect and you've been so lucky because your manners are so good.
No, well, you know what? I do. Do you want to
Okay,
wait?
okay,
or-
so yeah, hold on to
Okay.
it for a second. Because I want to talk just a little bit more manners, and in case Bobbi has anything she wants to ask too. But I want to talk about client manners now in the voiceover world. I think the time is the biggest thing when it comes to that. I'm a big fan of under promise, over deliver. And I'm talking about existing clients, not prospective. But dealing with clients, what other manners would you say for VO folks to be mindful of and to incorporate on the regular?
You asking me or Bobby?
I'm asking you, Bev,
Oh,
Miss Manners, our
Miss
guest.
Manners. You're a guest.
Be mindful of their time. Don't bug them too much, asking for work, these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I treat them like they're my boss, and if I worked in an office, what would you say, not say? I had a client, I went to their house yesterday. She invited me to her house for coffee because I was driving through her city. Those are hugs and, burp in public kind of conversations. But when you're talking to your client, again, be respectful of their time. Don't pry too deep into their personal life, but don't hesitate to understand who they are as people. If you find out that, they own a dog, ask how their dog is. Check
love
their
that.
social media first. Make sure they haven't posted that their dog sadly
Dog
has
just died.
passed.
Yeah.
But if you know that, or they have a wife, it was interesting. I just had a session with a new client, and I said to them, "Is this really your company name, or is this just an email?" And he goes, "No, that's my wife's and my nickname for each other." And I just cracked up, and that was the extent I needed to know. I just said, "That's perfect. It's a name I'll remember," and I think that's so great. Just be real with them, but don't go on and on and on and on and on about it.
Yeah, Bobbi, what are your thoughts in terms of dealing with clients and, your professional relationship in terms of manners?
I think asking for permission to post your client's project. Some people do everything. And I don't do it. I'll try to find it, first on my own. And if I really loved it and I do want to post it, I will occasionally say, "Can you share, this project? Do you mind if I put it on my socials or on my website or my demo or whatever?" So it's the right thing to do is to ask permission before you post anything. I mean, there's the NDAs first,
Yeah.
So, but if there's not an NDA, it's still a good idea to ask for permission.
It's brilliant.
This has been an enlightening episode about manners. And Bobbi, do you have any more questions for Bev regarding manners?
I'm kind of curious on something, getting back to social media. And I'm so torn on this because I know I've done it myself. And as soon as 20 minutes later, it's like, why did I do that? So if somebody posts something, this crazy story that happened to them or something, that's going on in their life. And you have people who jump in and try to make it a bigger story or a better story on what they've done. And it drives me crazy because I don't even think they know that they're doing it.
Bev, they instantly turn it into something about them rather
they're
than what the
hijacking,
post was. Yeah,
hijacking the conversation. You know what I'm talking about, Bev?
Yeah, I do. It's
enough said.
You know what? It's sympathy instead of empathy is what that is. A long time ago, somebody showed me a video that I thought was wonderful, and some little cartoon character had broken their leg, and the comment was, "Oh, I remember when I hurt my ankle or my thumb," and it was all about them, and empathy is, "Wow, is there anything I can do for you?" Right?
Yeah.
So
Miss
that's...
Manners, again, Miss Manners, right there.
It's a video that stuck, and because I never really understood the difference, and this one stuck with me. But yeah, I tend to be very careful on what I post, what I don't post, but even more so what I comment on. Pet peeve with me, please pray for me today. Could you be a little more specific? Oh, my life is so terrible. Please pray for me. And then tomorrow it's, look, I won an award. It's like, well, yesterday wasn't so bad. And then you tend not to take them so seriously when something really truly is wrong. And I understand.
Yeah.
I love your support today. Something's going on. However you support it, and they believe in prayer, that's fine. But with no context, that's like handing you an animation script with no storyboard. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
Is it something devastating? Is it something challenging? What is it? What are you asking for? So I'm very, very careful on social media, and I try not to even comment when it's like that. If I know the person, I'll message privately. Hey,
Okay.
what's going on? How can I help?
That's sweet, Bev.
It reminds me, Kevin, when Deborah liked somebody's post and she got instant message like, why did you just like me? Or so it was her post. It was Deborah's post, wasn't it? And she liked the response. Instead of loving it.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it is. So yeah, Bev knows Deborah, my wife, and we had done a post or something, and then all these people are commenting on Deborah's post. Yeah. And Deborah went through and loved. Heart, 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 heart. All the replies except for one.
Oh.
And this person got offended because they only got a like.
Yeah. And that happens because you get tired of saying thank you, and then you just start liking it, and it's like, oops. So
Bev knows this person. This person has been disruptive in conferences and disruptive in working environments where folks are trying to hone their craft in VO and anything. One more point of manners in the VO world. I love that. It is social related, and we kind of touched on it earlier. What about posting your own work? Bobbi was just talking about it. What about, the right thing to do is ask the client for permission. But what about the posting? My philosophy is I will do it every now and then if it's something special or if it's like appointment viewing. It's like, hey, this doc's coming out or whatever. Check it out. I was lucky to narrate it. That kind of a vibe. But that's my MO. Every now and then I will post my own work. Bev, what are your thoughts on posting your own work?
I treat my work on social media very, very much like an audition. It's done. It's somewhere else now. It's not on social media. But if it's something really unique or something touching and I have permission to post it, sometimes I will. Usually I post it on, it sounds terrible, on Facebook or LinkedIn. As opposed to, Facebook or what's the other, Insta, as opposed to LinkedIn. Because when I put it on LinkedIn, I'm sharing that I might be working for your competitor. It's a business platform. Now, a lot of people do it. I know one talent who's brilliant, and they are getting a ton of work. And it's like, oh, I'm so happy to voice for this car, and 4 days later, and this is my new other car spot, and they're booking like crazy all over the place, and good for them. But I had that thought, is like, wow, they post like a lot, and I don't know if that's detrimental or not, but I tend not to post a lot. I posted one recently and said I was just cleaning up my files, and I did this like 10 years ago. I sound exactly the same, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad, but
that's awesome. That's
I just
great.
thought it was
Good,
interesting,
yeah.
so I posted it again. But yeah, I don't post a lot of my work.
What are your thoughts, Bobbi?
We've talked about this before. I remember a legend in the business told me that, you really shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. But now I think in this day and age, it's really changed because so many hirers are using social media to find people. And if you did a really good project, that may be the way that you're found. So, just like Bev was saying, just every once in a while is good, and on the right platform is good too. So I've kind of changed my mind about it.
I want to
Love it.
touch on manners on this one. So the people that do post it, and they want to say, and I thank, their client or the production company or the whatever, how many people then try and find those people
Steal it.
and contact them? And it's like, no.
Out of respect for your client, don't do it.
Out
yeah.
of respect for your colleague's client, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like don't be that person.
That's great manners, Bev.
And I can tell you what else you shouldn't do. If you lend money to somebody, don't call somebody else and don't call me and tell me to call to somebody to pay you back. I'm just going to put that out there once in a lifetime.
Whoa, this sounds like a story.
Yeah, that I won't say, but it happened.
Here's another just quick one. I'm going to throw this one in there. If you hear that a podcast has a brand new sponsor and that sponsor goes to a voiceover conference, don't run up to that sponsor and ask if they will sponsor your podcast. You clowns.
Yeah, same thing, right? Like just,
Come on. Read the effing room.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know who that was about, but anyway. Don't go anywhere. The Making Waves VO podcast returns in a moment.
This is Heather Bell, voice actor, and I can tell you you've made an awesome choice listening to the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobbi Maxwell. I know you're gonna enjoy it.
Oh, Bobbi, I remember getting into voiceover, and one of the most exciting parts about getting into voiceover is buying all the gear. You don't realize that until you become a voice actor and you got to produce your own stuff. And you go, ooh, this part should be fun. But then you go, I have not a clue on what I'm supposed to buy.
Exactly.
That's why you trust your good friends at Full Compass, fullcompass.com. They know VO there, and you're going to have a great selection of pro audio gear, and you're going to get a lot of good help. And there's a lot of good attributes that go along with buying from Full Compass.
Yeah, so if you're not really sure when you got the piece of equipment and you have questions about it, they have a free 2-year service or repair plan. They have free shipping on orders over $49. I love that. I think my favorite thing is the low price guarantee, because you just never know. You said a second ago that you're getting into this and you don't know what you need, but how about, do you know if you're paying the right price for it? So you don't have to worry about that when you shop at fullcompass.com. They'll guarantee to match the price on the products they sell for new, identical, and immediately available products offered at a lower price.
They have flexible financing, Bobbi, and they also have free expert assistance. And that's why we say we know VO at Full Compass.
Everything from microphones to interfaces to headphones to mic booms, they've got it.
If you have any questions and you're more old school and you want to call them on the phone, you can call Full Compass at 800-356-5844. Full Compass and fullcompass.com.
We know VO. Now back to the podcast. Let's find Bev's nightmare story.
Oh my gosh, Bev. Yeah, so we've all had those sessions that the recording session could have been technical, could have been direction, could have been so many different things where we've had a recording session that was just a nightmare. Bev Standing, would you please favor us with a nightmare session story?
Nightmare Sessions.
You're going to laugh because it's really not a nightmare, but it fits with the Miss Manners thing. I got hired to do a political spot. I had to go to downtown Toronto, be in the studio, and I was still fairly new. I was so excited. Here I am doing political. This is going to be a thing. And I had to sound angry.
Love it.
Have you ever seen me really angry?
Nope. You are
Neither-
the
neither
most
did
pleasant
they.
person. You are the most pleasant person 100% of the time. That's what's so remarkable.
Neither could they find me that angry. They tried and they tried and they tried, and I would get angrier as I got through the script, and they're going, good. Okay, now bring that up and start there and get angrier. And I just couldn't do it. And they were so typically Canadian. They said, you know what, that was great. Thanks so much. It was great working with you. I got a call from my agent. They're not using it.
Oh,
I just couldn't sound angry enough.
Oh, Bev. That is
We
a
should've-
perfect Miss Manners story. That is so perfect for
That is.
this podcast.
We should have told her the bad Sandy story, Kevin.
Yeah, tell her the bad Sandy story, Bobbi.
Yeah, maybe it would have gotten you there. I was in a session and somehow, with going through it real quickly, they were talking about they wanted me to be meaner or edgier or whatever the word was, and I am Grease Good Sandy, and finally they said, we want you to be bad Sandy. Remember when she had the black leather on?
Yeah.
And it worked. I was bad. I almost said black Sandy. I was bad Sandy.
Oh,
That's a good direction.
That is, direction helped, but no, they just asked me to get mad. So
That's so funny. Well, Bev Standing, how can folks reach you if they wanted to talk to you about your manners, or if they wanted to reach out for booking opportunities? Do you want to tell us your website or email, whatever?
Oh, it's really complicated when you go down here. It's bev@bevstanding.com. My website is bevstanding.com. I'm on TikTok, Bev Standing. I'm on Insta,
Wow.
Bev Standing. I'm on LinkedIn, Bev Standing. That's how you find me.
How would we find you, though?
I know. I'll come to you.
I'm going to find you in a few weeks, right? We're going to be in Holland together.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Aw,
about that. Sorry,
man.
Bobby. Sorry.
Well, wait a minute. Somebody told me yesterday that Bev was going to be in Italy, too. Are you?
Yeah.
All right. See, Kev?
So I couldn't
there
just
you
be
go.
with Kevin. I had to be with Bobby, too.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in May, friend. And thanks so much for your time, Bev, and much success moving forward. Thanks so much for being a big shining light for this industry.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. I love this industry, and I'm just so blessed to be part of it. So thank you.
You're too kind, and I mean that literally.
Sorry.
Miss Manners.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, and but you know what? Before we end, people always say we say sorry and all this stuff. This is kind of redundant, but if I kicked you in the shin, you'd say ow, like in about. That's how we say about, not about. It's like you say ow. And the day after I've kicked you in the shin, which I would never do, it would be sore. Sorry. Sorry. That's the Canadian sorry and
Sorry.
out. There you go.
Oh,
You have
good
been
stuff.
coached for the day.
Thank you for that education.
You're so fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Bev. You know, she really is. She is just the nicest person in the business. Or maybe there's no one nicer. I'll say it that way. There are people probably as nice, but no one nicer and more kind and more well-mannered than Bev Standing.
That was a great choice, Kev. Very good.
Oh, well,
Very.
I got lucky there. I mean, she sprung to mind first. And I'm like, with the whole TikTok thing and how she's had to teach people about manners in the VO business through her story.
I hate that we have to do an episode on manners in the business, but it's just think.
Like I said at the beginning, I made a dumb mistake
Yeah.
early in my career, and
Yeah.
I was clueless. I didn't know. I just getting into this, and I'm like, yeah, hey, hey, Rob, tell me, who are you working for in this space? And well, I don't know if I want to tell you that.
Yeah. But it's kind of, just to wrap it up real quick, people doing that probably don't think it through, but they may be the same people that think that this is going to be a piece of cake kind of business, But
Yeah.
you always have to remember you have to put in the work
No
to
shortcuts.
get. Yeah.
No shortcuts. Well, Bobby, this has been a fun episode. Thanks so much for the idea, and I think this will serve our community well. We're doing our job. We're making waves and serving the community. I love it.
It's been fun.
The Making Waves VO podcast, of course, presented by our good friends at Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
Bye-bye, Bobby.
Bye.
The Making Waves VO podcast is produced by K2 Media Productions with hosts Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobbi Maxwell. Sound design and editing by Jason Traver. Production assistance by Lacey Deline. Publicity and social media by Shannon Scott and Silas Phillips. Be sure to subscribe to the Making Waves VO podcast on your favorite platform. For all episodes, merchandise, gear, and more, visit makingwavesvo.com. Until next time, I'm AJ McKay. Keep making waves.